Our next step is to set up our workspace. It's important to have a very organized workspace so that there's a real flow to your painting process so you don't get frustrated just with how you use the materials. So the first step would be if you're using a kitchen or another table and you want to protect it from a possible staining of the paint, you can place first a towel or paper, anything that might cover the surface. That will work well. That would be our first step. Next would be we're going to use either a book or just a piece of wood, because we're going to paint with a little bit of an incline to our paper so that we can use gravity to let the water flow down, the pigment and water flow down to create more even washes. So either a book of some sort or a piece of wood would work fine with that. Now eventually we'll talk about using an easel, which is also very good because then you can vary the height or the incline. So if you want the water to roll down faster, or you can leave it almost flat. So it gives you a lot of options for how you're going to work with your washes. But for right now, we can use, to make it a little more simple, we can use wood, because we can always just lift our paper up. Okay, now on top of that, we're going to put a piece of foam board, or it can be a thin piece of wood, anything that we'll use to tape our paper to. And then we can change the vertical level of the board or the paper just with our hand moving it up and down. Okay, so that would be our next step, to line up that board. Now, what we'll do next is figure where we want to place our palette. So basically, placing the palette next to your board is probably a good approach. You can, if there's enough room, you can place it underneath, but sometimes you'll run out of space for that. So I'm going to place the palette here. And as you begin to build your workspace, you can experiment with different approaches that seem more comfortable to you and the way you want to work. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to do it like this. That could be switched around to the other side if you're left-handed. So we're going to place the palette here. And then at the top of the palette, I'm going to place this water cup. And that becomes important because we're going to be going between the water and the paint and the colors as we mix and then apply the paint. Next to that, I'm going to place some napkins, because we're going to use napkins not only here and there to clean the brush, but also to pull off some of the water as we vary the wetness of the brush compared to the paint that we're going to be using, and then mixing our washes to apply to the paper. Next we have our brushes, and our brushes we can place to the side as well. For this upcoming little lesson we're going to use, for our demonstration we're going to go through in this lesson, we're going to use basically a number 10, 11 brush. And so these represent basically somewhere between, actually an 8 could work up to a number 10 or even a number 12, but probably we want to stay between 8 and 11 for brush size. The brush sizes differ per the manufacturer, so it's a little bit hard to say exactly the number, but it won't matter in this upcoming lesson. Okay, so now at this point what we'll be doing is attaching our paper to this board. So I'm going to get a piece of 11 by 15 Canson paper, place it on the board like so, and then I'm going to take tape, Here we go. And take some tape. It can be just regular masking tape, or I have this blue tape. And I'm just going to tape it down to the board like this. Okay, that way, as we paint, we can move the board around if we need to get from a different angle, or we need to raise it up a little higher to let the washes flow down. We have this all taped to the board, ready to move that around. So, and then of course the next step would be to apply our paint to the palette. We'll do that in the next segment. And for this next segment, we're only going to use ultramarine blue. We'll be talking about how to place that in your palette, how to prepare that paint to start to create washes.